looking forward to this for a while, but our lives have conspired against us, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Not the Qur'an is man-made. Somehow we've agreed to have that discussion.
You had suggested the title.
Okay, let's see if we can agree on a default position first of all. So, if you were given a large container full of books and someone said, pull one out at random, and you have to say whether that book is going to be written by God or not before you pull it out, would you say, now, putting aside the fact that you're not a gambling man, obviously, but would you go with the book I'm about to pull out at random from, say, a million books is man-made or written by God?
If a container was given to me and I was asked, right, just pick a book randomly, I would first want to know what criteria we would adopt to establish what we are about to do.
Pretend that there was a God and it was God doing it, and then God will say you were right or you were wrong.
Right, well, I have a different view as opposed to many other human beings, because my view is this, that if we were to assume there was a creator, then logically speaking, the creator by definition would be superior to the creation. So logic would dictate that it is the creator who would provide the necessary information for us to establish whether that particular message that claims to be from a creator is from the creator, as opposed to human beings making a determination based on their limited knowledge. Right, so books are man-made unless proven otherwise, which I can readily agree with you, in that any book that a human being picks up, okay, by definition, would have been written by a man, okay, which is fine for me. As a Muslim, the issue that is raised for me is the fact that when we look at the Qur'an as an example, it wasn't given to a man in written form. It was revealed, and then that particular message was formulated in book form that we consider to be a book. So in that respect, the Quran also on that point would not actually be considered to be the same as what you just said about every book being written by a man. I would actually, you see, you made a point here that the onus is on me. I mean, I would readily agree, but for the fact that we haven't even established the criteria we are going to use to determine whether it is man-made or not. Even on a basic understanding that the Quran is not authored by a human being the way we are possibly understanding authorship of a human being ought to be. Why? Because I know that there is no book on the face of this earth in formulated form. Yeah, there is no message in book formulation which can be memorized by 6-year-olds to 60. But do you know of any book the size of the Quran which has been memorized, let's say, by 100 people, let alone thousands, and even putting aside the age differences, like I said, 6 to 60, do you know of any book which has been memorized to this extent? Yeah, it might be too much. Let's reduce it. Let me be kind and bring it down to here. Something equivalent to this. I say, okay, bring 10 or 100 friends. Let's not forget 100. Let's come down to 10 friends who can do that as a challenge to prove the Quran wrong. A simple test. Yes? Before we go into the complexities or the explanations of why this verse says this, that verse says, this is a simple test that anyone can undertake. And since it transcends languages, all the better. So we don't have to be in a position to translate Shakespeare into English, although it was written in English. Unique to the Quran, and I use the Quran to determine this. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Right. So Sorry, Pete, so far as you can remember, where in the Quran does it say that?
No, I'm not saying you're basing your criteria on the Quran. I'm not saying you're basing your criteria on what you've read inside the Quran.
Where? What? Yeah. If I was in your chair, this is what I would say to me. I would say, Shabir, I tell you what, I'll take up your challenge. Let's see if that is the case or not. Now, I am confident that there is no way anyone is going to be able to do this. Now, why am I confident? Because anything that human beings do, yes, by definition, will only do what is limited to them. And whatever they are going to do, somewhere along the line, they will say something, and 5 minutes later they will have forgotten. Just like you know, when we discussed the title, I said to you, actually, Pete, it was you who suggested the title. And what did you say? You said, well, it was such a long time I've forgotten. And that was only about 3 or 4 months ago. Really relevant or not is not the issue. The issue here is this, Pete. It's an objective test which can be applied readily today. Are you prepared to take it up?
Yes.
Excellent. You tell me.
If I can name one book that at least 10 people have memorised from cover to cover that's at least as thick as the Quran, you accept that this argument
Yes. Is flawed. It's flawed. The argument is flawed. Yes, I would. Name me the book and name me the people.
There are more than 10 people in the world that have memorised the Bible.
Pete, here is the challenge again. You see, what you have just said here, and I must say this, Pete, because I am free to talk with you, there is this tendency of people wanting to say things which they think the other person is going to agree or disagree with. I would say, well, wait a minute, Pete, you've made a statement here. What is the evidence for that statement? I'm going to be quite insistent on this. When we ask the question, is the Quran man-made? You just said now that you have your reasons for why you think the Quran is man-made, correct?
Yep.
Yes, you said that. So, I automatically am correct in wanting to know what the criteria is that we are going to adopt to determine it is man-made. So, what is the criteria you adopted so we can both use it? I am not in the, Pete, I must just make one thing very clear. I am not in the habit of saying what I believe and what I do not. I would rather we discuss the evidence and then establish evidentially what it is we are trying to determine. Pete, you can tell me, do I believe in red cheese? Do I believe in this, that and the other? It is not conducive to the discussion. Just stick with the criteria, Pete, first. Tell me the criteria, Pete.
I'll go ahead without asking you any
Pete,
questions.
excellent. Criteria first, objective criteria. I asked for a criteria. Okay? One second, Pete. I asked for an objective criteria and you jumped to a surah in the Quran. So are we saying now that we are going to use the criteria of the Quran?
Yes. It says, will they not then ponder on the Quran? If it had been from other than Allah, then they would have found therein many errors, much incongruity. Right?
Sorry, Pete. So you are telling me that we really are using the Quran as the criteria to determine whether the Quran is man-made.
Yeah,
Correct?
because
Excellent. I'm good with that. Well, I'll start at 49. It said, "Who then is the Lord of you both, O Moses?"
that's I'm starting to
Verse 50. He said, He said, "Our Lord is He who gave to everything its nature, then guided it aright." I'm using Muhammad Pictol's translation here. Verse 52, he said, "The knowledge of it is with my Lord in a record. My Lord neither errs nor forgets."
It means that God knows everything. He doesn't get stuff wrong and he doesn't forget it.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Misremembering what they said
Hmm.
and is in contradiction to what the Quran says about himself, which is that Allah doesn't make errors and he doesn't forget anything.
Right, excellent. Can I just ask you, Pete, what is the error?
The error is that it's a contradiction.
How?
Allah says, the Quran says that when Allah announced to the angels what he was going to do,
Yes.
he said these words.
Yes.
Another point in the Quran, right, when Muhammad was saying these words, he said, and then Allah went to them and he said, these words are missing. He didn't say the same words.
So sorry. How is it a contradiction? How is it a contradiction, Pete?
I can prove it. I can demonstrate it very easily.
Go on.
I'll say a short sentence to you. Ready? The cat sat on the mat. Yeah? Now,
Yeah.
the question I'm going to ask you now, is it true or false that I just said the cat sat upon the mat?
You said the cat sat on the mat. Yes, you said
I didn't
that.
say the cat sat upon the mat.
You said the cat sat on the mat.
It means the same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah? However, when you say that something was said, you're saying what was actually said. You're not saying what was meant, as in the rest of the story.
Oh, okay.
Parts that aren't featured in the rest of the story.
Yeah, sorry, Pete. Sorry, Pete.
I said the cat sat on the mat.
Right, okay, I understand.
I said the cat sat upon the mat. That is incorrect. Both statements are not true.
Right, Pete. What is look?
Story.
Sorry, can we just go on what you said, Pete? Can we just finish what you said? You see, if you said the cat sat on the mat, and you said the cat sat upon the mat, yes? What's the contradiction?
Well, did I say on or upon?
No. I'm saying because you said if I said the cat sat on the mat and the cat sat upon the mat, yes?
Yeah.
I'm saying what's the contradiction?
Right, the contradiction is, right, the meaning of what was said is the same. However, used were different. I meant that the cat sat upon the mat. I didn't actually say the cat sat upon the mat. I said the cat sat on the mat.
Right. Okay, Pete. Can we? Yeah, Pete. Can we respectfully accept the definition of contradiction that we are using here? You don't mind pulling up a dictionary, do you?
No, contradiction is two facts that aren't in agreement.
Are what? Are opposed?
Aren't in agreement.
Aren't in agreement.
Yeah, are opposed. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So please, in that context, how are these two in contradiction? The verse, chapter 15, verse 28 and 38:71. The words that you are talking about, is it teen in the second one?
Yeah.
And what was the first one?
Salim min hamain masin.
Right, now it's there, yeah? Hamaim masnunin, okay? I'm asking you, in the Arabic, are both the same words used?
Are the same words, yeah, up to the point that the discrepancy occurs.
No. Pete, it's only a discrepancy if you can establish it to be so. If two different words have been used, okay?
Yeah.
To mean, if I can just say, you use the cat sat on the mat, the cat sat upon the mat, yeah? If two different words have been used in that original language, how is it a contradiction? Okay, Pete, I think I appreciate that there is a particular way you want to think about things, but I did ask a simple question for which you never gave the answer and you just went off a tangent. I asked, and I will ask again. The two verses, ayahs that you used to try and prove your point, I asked you, are two different words used in the two accounts? The answer is yes. So now I'm asking you again, Pete, if two different words are used, how can that be a contradiction? You do know what a contradiction is, we accepted that, didn't we?
Yeah, right.
Yes. Now, would a contradiction...
Well, let me finish.
Please do, of course. When your Lord said to the angels, Lo, I'm creating a mortal out of potter's clay of black mud altered. What is mud altered?
No, but you...
Again, look, I'm trying to understand, Pete, respectfully, I'm trying to understand your point of view of how you think it is an error, okay, or a contradiction, or forgetfulness, and I want to know where there is a verse telling you something which you have chosen, but respectfully, not the full verse itself, you have picked on something. I just want to know where it says black mud altered. Yes? The other one, sorry, Pete, the other one, yeah, the other one, no, I'm just telling you, because the verse says, when I have fashioned him and breathed into him of my spirit, Numbers 71. Before that it says, behold, thy Lord said to the angels, I am about to create man from clay. Yes? Now when it uses the, Pete, if it says clay, yeah, is there a difference between clay and mud?
I can quite easily concede that it doesn't say specifically what events they're talking about. Yeah, it doesn't say that they're talking about Adam, the creation of Adam. It could be talking about Noah or something else or something else. So I'm trying to understand: is that your argument that we don't know what he's referring to?
Actually, Pete, I'll make it clear to you. I've asked a simple question yet again. What's the difference between clay and mud? Can we just clarify that first? Okay. So, no problem at all, Pete. No problem.
If the single syllable is different, then they are not the same.
Okay, no problem at all, Pete. You are absolutely correct. Hence my question, which I'm going to have to ask again. If two different words are used, what kind of syllables should be exactly the same?
Every syllable.
How Pete, whoa. If there are two different words, how are you going to expect the syllables to be the same?
Right. Now this is the.
No, please. I mean, Pete, I must respectfully ask, because every time I'm asking you a question, Pete, you fly off. I mean, like I said, I asked, what's the difference between clay and mud? You went off. Now I'm asking Pete. Sorry, Pete. I'm asking you again. If there are two different words, Pete, Pete, I'll hear you, you hear me. If there are two different words, how can you have the same exact, according to your words, syllables, bearing in mind now that you first wanted to dismiss what you thought was only my criteria in terms of the memory test that I gave, and now you are telling me what you think the Creator ought to have done. And that again, if I can, sorry Pete, if I can just finish. I may be a misunderstanding. But it comes to what I said at the start, Pete, that logic dictates that if there is a Creator, the Creator will determine for me what the Creator is going to say, rather than me trying to be an expert in determining how the Creator ought to have revealed things. I mean, it's so basic common sense, respectfully, Pete.
These were supposed to be words that were uttered at an exact point in time. Are we in agreement on that? Yes.
Now, excellent. You have brought up a point. Now, let's go back, Pete. Let's go back to the verses and see how you have determined it was at the exact point. How did you do that?
Allah announced to the angels that he's going to create Adam, how he's going to make it, and once he has created Adam, what they should do.
Right, Pete, let's just go to the two verses that you brought up, and I'm only going according to what you said. You have used the words, the exact point. Now, I am quite picky about words that are chosen by people, because they sort of give you an indication of what the other person is trying to say. So tell me how you came to that conclusion that it is talking about the exact same time.
Right. So is that your?
No. It's only a question, because the others you aren't answering, to be honest. I appreciate again your attempt, but it's a good try. I asked a specific question, and I'm going to be quite insistent here. You used words exact time.
Yeah.
Yes, and I said how. And off you went, and then now you have respectfully, you have actually shifted the goalpost by trying to infer something out of the verses. But Pete, I'm being as forthright as I can here now. Yes, I've asked you about certain questions. You have avoided answering. I asked you about the difference between clay and mud. Respectfully, you avoided answering. You then came. Pete, if I can, yeah, then here, I'm not. I've asked you and I've asked again. But now, Pete, we have come to these verses. Now I asked you two sentences, okay? Two sentences. You made the statements, and I agree entirely with you that, look, everything, word for, are you okay, Pete? everything word for word is being recorded syllable to syllable by Google or whatever else. I'm so glad. But you see, the point here is, Pete, that if two sentences are being used about a certain issue, okay, you deem them first to be an error, possibly a contradiction, and neither have been objectively proven by you, and even worse, that when we are looking at the verses themselves, different words are employed, meaning the same thing, a bit like your cat sat on the and cat sat upon the, okay? Any reasonable person, yeah, and I would urge you to try this, Pete, using your own test. If I were to go to any reasonable person and say, listen, I have got two sentences here. One sentence says, the cat sat on the mat, and the other one says, the cat sat upon the mat. Hey, there's a contradiction. You know what they are going to do? They are going to look at me and think, what a plonker, in the context of the statements that you read. So, for example, I asked you, and I'll come right back to it. Pete, I'll come right back. Pete, can I just finish? Can I just finish, Pete? I'll come right back to it, and I asked a simple question. What's the difference between mud and clay? Then you are going to have to tell me, sorry?
Yeah, that's fine. One is spelled M-U-D, the other one is spelled C-L-A-Y.
Is that the difference, according to you? Is that the difference according to you, Pete?
That's the difference between the words mud and the word
Pete,
clay.
is that the difference between clay and mud? What you just said. Pete, you are telling me the difference between clay and mud is the spelling.
I am telling you the difference between the word clay and the word mud is the spelling.
I just said that. Pete, I come across many people who have tried to argue the point and respectfully miserably failed. And please, Pete, no, I didn't say other people, I didn't say you. Now, Pete, I expected respectfully, Pete, I asked you what's the difference between mud and clay. And the best answer you could come out with was, one is M. Can I just ask you, what is your competence in Arabic?
Well, let's put it this way, I've said I don't speak it, but I can read the writing.
Now you do understand when I use the word, what is your competence in Arabic? I'm not only meaning about speaking and writing. What is your competence in the
I've only got a very basic
right, Pete, I mean respectfully, I think I can now see why you are having such a problem with the Quran and why you think they are errors. I mean, Pete, it is a strange one, this, okay? Your competence in Arabic is virtually...
Arabic, yeah.
No, Pete. It is important, and I'm sure you will concede this point, that you are trying to determine your entire argument. If I can just finish, Pete. You are trying to determine your entire argument on a book, yes, in a language of which your knowledge... I'm glad you're finding it funny because I wanted to laugh, but I thought it would be offending to you. Yes? But I'll tell you, Pete, I've asked you and now I'll ask you again, and this is an objective question. What is your competence in the Arabic language?
Okay, as I already said, I only have a very basic understanding of a few phrases of conversational Arabic. However, I can read the letters, know how they sound.
Oh, okay.
Let me finish.
Oh, I do apologize. I thought you had. Sorry.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
And I can read them, and I know when letters are different. I know when the vowel signs are different, and I can see when two sentences are not saying the same thing. Right?
Basically, this is what's happened. We are accused of murder. He decides to voluntarily become our defense lawyer, and he tells us, Pete, Shabir, I must tell you first that mine is a very basic understanding of Spanish. Would you have him as your defense lawyer?
No, I wouldn't.
Thank you. Thank you. And you made your position very clear that you are an atheist. Okay? What I usually say is atheism, yes, is an advanced form of ignorance and delusion. Okay? Now, and I'm not suggesting that is what personally, Pete, like I said, I only say this, it's my opinion. So all you need to do is find an equivalent book like that, and we can make the distinction.
No. It says that if the Quran had been from humans, it would have errors in it. Well, I'm sorry.
Pete, do not misrepresent the Quran. That's not what it says. The verse says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَّبَرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ 1 second, Pete. It's telling you this. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. Where does it mention human beings? I read the verse specifically because I knew you were going to raise this. It says very clearly, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. What is it talking about? The Qur'an. I appreciate you don't want to read this, but the point is, it specifically is mentioning the Quran. Now, logic dictates, Pete, anyone who is going to be asked, what is the Quran? They will tell you, well, everything that this, from cover to cover, that is contained, yes? And I'm talking about the Quran, not the translation of the historical elements, etc. Okay? The point here is, Pete, it's talking about the Quran. So if you came to me with a 10-page book and claimed it is perfect, I would say to you, Pete, you are entitled to your opinion, but it certainly doesn't meet the test. Your story, yes? I just watched it yesterday, okay? In which you tell the listener why you ended up to where you are, okay? And one of the things that came across to me was when you said that I actually on a piece of paper I noted down the exact place, you know, using what you said, how perfect you can record things on a computer. I'm using the word computer. Yeah. Yeah, I actually noted down the exact place where you had said when you were praying to God, yes, and that unfortunate event occurred. Thereafter, you went forward, you went to the Quran, then you were reading it, Pete, and you are saying in the video how amazed you were, yeah, that were these people reading the same thing you were reading, yes? And halfway through you decided to dispense with it. You stopped reading it.
I've read the Quran in many.
No, obviously you would have after that, I'm sure you, but I'm going to...
I stopped reading it partway through and decided to research every Quran miracle claim I could find.
To the video.
No, I did read it all the way through. I don't believe I said that I stopped reading. I may have said that's not proving.
Right, Pete, the video that you see, I'm glad because I knew there is a possibility you may have forgotten. That's why I actually noted down exactly which place you had said that. Yeah, but it is there, and you said that you never read it fully. Obviously, I knew that you must have read it.
Asking me about challenge, what's his name, 10 people who can remember the Bible word for word, the same edition. And then when I present that to you, you will accept your original opening statement is without basis, and that will be good because we have an objective test.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I agree entirely. Pete, can I just say one thing? If I have come on across as in any way upsetting, offensive, etc., please do forgive me. That was not my intention at all. Anything untoward that has been said, it was not an intention. It is in the context of the discussion, and I do sincerely ask for your forgiveness if I have come across like that. Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much, Pete. God bless.
I enjoy talking about religion and understanding other people's ideas. And,
yeah.
You know, there's not many people actually try to put forward a case for why they believe what is true. So, you know, it's nice of you to join in. Thanks very much.
Right. Thank you very much.
Speak to you again some other time.
Soon. God willing. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.